parque está, pero acá tienen cosas. En el parque igual lo tienen.
If you ask me to describe my dad in a few words, I will never stop. He has taught me too many things. He taught me compassion. He taught me to be patient. He taught me to be still. He taught me to appreciate life.
I used to take pictures of him all the time and he'll be like, oh my God, show me, do I look good? Put them on Facebook, put them on Instagram. What do people say? And I remember always my friends going to La Panaderia and he'll be like, oh, take a picture so you can send it to Sandra.
Everything he did it with passion. Like everything. And that's why he taught us. To go into something always with your heart on your sleeve. Always.
And he was always so proud of like his daughter, his kids, and everyone's like, oh my God, your dad's always talking about you wherever he is.
And I think he taught us to be a better person. That's the main thing. Is a teacher, my friend. I miss him a lot.
Mami. Sandra, mira cómo lo ves ahora.
When he started getting sick, my mum said, I don't think you should come yet. And then on Tuesday morning, I was given birth. I went into labour at 10:30. Valentina was born at 12:30. And at the same time, they were taking my dad to the hospital in that morning. And the first thing was like, I have to tell my mum and dad how painful this is and like how grateful I am that they had me. And when I started, we did a video call just before they put him into induced coma.
The doctor said to him, I'm sorry, you are positive. We need to put you in sleep. And he said, no, you are not putting me in sleep yet because my grandson is born today. He knew it. And the doctor said, you could die. He said, I don't care. I want to see him before sleep. When the video came, he saw us in the video. I got the screenshot. He with mask, giving, his hand is like this. He was given a blessing. And his face got a tear. I know he's going, he knew he was going.
Valentina was crying a lot. So he was, oh my God, I could hear him, his lungs are really strong. And so I don't know why, I just thought, let me do a screenshot. And I said, oh my dad, we have the same pajamas, we're in hospital together, like, just to give him a laugh. And then George was with him in the hospital and he said, oh, they have to take him. And I felt like, oh my God, could this be the last time?
He said, tell the doctors I'm ready. My job is done. My mom put her head down and my dad said, even if I'm going, I'm not going. I prefer going first than see you going. That's what his phrase. He said, my circle in life is done when my baby born. That's what he said.
¿Dónde mamá?
¿Y cómo me le llamo mamá? Ay, ¿dónde la mami, pues? Ay, ¿dónde la mami?
¿Cómo estás? Uno.
Ay, mami.
¿Cómo está mi vida? Ay.
Look, he always said, they promise us to be born, they promise us to be happy, they promise us we have challenges, but they never tell us how the end will be. And nobody's asking you to be ready now, but just know that that day might come and everybody might go at some point. So live your life to the fullest.
So the dream was that they came to visit me with Libby and Valentina and that they had a present for me. And then I said, oh my God, what is it? And then behind them, it was my dad. And then I said, Dad, where have you been? Like, we've been crying for you for months. Apparently you left us. And then he grabbed me and he said, I've never left. I'm always here.
But I know he's here with me because in every action that I'm taking, I'm consciously going there, wanting him to be proud of me, you know, and that's my drive now. And now, the same way he inspired 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, I would try to do the same. And I'm not gonna let this experience define me. I'm just gonna make the best to make him proud, because everything that I do for him.
¿Quién habla?
Eso, un brindis por mi papá, por la vida, como dijo Maranta. Por la vida.
Por el legado que dejó papá.
Sí.
Por el positivismo de la
Por el positivismo de la familia y por salir adelante.
Y por el motor de la casa.
Sí,
El motor de la casa.
el motor de la casa
Gracias,
que nos ha enseñado a manejar este dolor
Ajá.
y nos ha dado toda la fuerza del mundo. Gracias, mamá.
Gracias.
Por ser una guerrera.
Hermosa.
Por ser una guerrera.
Mi guerrera linda.
Gracias a ustedes, porque también ustedes me han dado mucha fuerza.
Yo me vine de Colombia por problemas de inseguridad, de la guerrilla, que me iban a matar. Pues me vine para acá, para Londres. El mismo día que explotó las bombas aquí en Londres, el 7 del 7 del 2005, yo me senté, se llenó otra vez el tren, cerró la puerta del tren, arrancó el tren e inmediatamente arrancó el tren y se metió al túnel, ahí mismo explotó el tren. Ahí estaba yo. Yo no sé, Dios, ¿para qué me tendrá a mí? Yo era una de las personas que no creía del COVID. Yo decía que la gente estaba mintiendo. Y desde que yo llegué al hospital, yo me acuerdo cuando me llevaron al hospital, el hijo mío me acompañó. De ahí, de adelante, yo ya no me acuerdo de nada más. El sueño que yo viví fue de que había una persona que para mí era el diablo, representado en una señora pequeña, con la cara toda rasgada, los dientes todos podridos. Esa señora era la que comandaba en la sala de cuidados intensivos. Ella prácticamente, ella no hablaba, ella señalaba y hacía así. Ella colocaba, miraba, chuzaba a la persona y le hacía así, que esa es la que se tenía que morir. Yo mismo veía cuando la gente se moría. Hasta los 33, 35 días que vine a despertar, y yo nunca he tenido barba. Y cuando yo desperté, toda la cara era llena de pelo, con barba, las uñas eran grandes, la piel mía era blanca, blanca. Y yo perdí 22 kilos de peso en los 33 días en el hospital.
Cuando uno sale para una batalla, uno sale bien limpio, uno sale lleno de fuerza y vamos para la batalla. Cuando uno regresa y sale victorioso, uno viene con nuevas expectativas.
Mejor dicho, yo de la esposa.
Yo siempre, del día que yo salí del hospital, no podía caminar. Me dijeron, Fabián, usted si quiere salir de este hospital le tiene que demostrar a los terapeutas que usted está caminando. Me puse a hacer ejercicio y salí caminando. Pues sí, yo me siento como me dijeron los médicos ahí, Fabián, usted es muy lucky, usted es muy de buena. A usted le colocábamos en el cuarto de cuidados de intensivo donde usted estaba, habían 12, 13 personas y todos se morían y usted vivo. Y le metíamos otras personas y se morían y usted ahí vivo. O sea que pues me siento muy victorioso.
Okay, that painting is about a tree, you know, and Pachamama, Pacha is meaning, you know, planet or earth, and all this is belong to the indigenous tradition and indigenous culture. You see the quipus, you see the, you know, the chilies, you got the coca leaf, you got the the corn, you got, you know, the puma, you got the condor, you got animals, and this symbol is about Chacana, you know, which is a bridge between the earth and the skies. And you see the flag, which is belong to the Peruvian or the Native American, you know. It's about nature. We are coming from nature. You know, when you are in that situation, you notice clear the oxygen. You need oxygen to respire. You need water. So that very strong in my mind. You know, you have to do something in society about nature and national health service. I was in a hospital between 20 or 25 days. Yeah. And you, in your mind, you feel or you dreaming, or something in your mind that the reality is not clear. But they started to shouting who died in that moment, no? So I was waiting who's dying. Suddenly they shouting my name that I was passed away. I said, wow, I'm already dead. I said, I tried to move my legs. I said, I'm still alive. Why these people thinking that I'm dead? But I was thinking about my daughter as well, my family, you know, my family, my daughter, my mother, you know. So it's important, family, because they give you the strong belief that you have to live for them as well. I said to myself, this is not time to die. So you need to fight all the way. You have to go to the challenge. You have to defeat this disease. You cannot be depressed the other way. You have to be positive all the time. That's in my view, you know, when I was in the hospital.
Yeah? You got to come in with something strong. Can we just, have we got time? Okay, let's just do that.
There's a really vibrant music community playing Latin music in London, and I work with a lot of musicians in that community. I also met and started playing with a lot of Congolese musicians, and I put a band together which was a mixture of Congolese and Latin musicians, because there's so many similarities between the music, but we lived in completely different worlds in London. So I put this band together, and we've been going now for like 14 years, and it's this great band which brings together Latin and African musicians. All musicians know that over the last 10 years or so there's been less and less opportunity for live music anyway, but obviously with COVID-19 and the complete stop of all live music, that was added another dimension which was really, really drastic. Even within the musicians, what I've noticed is that the people who were already to some extent marginalised in society are further marginalised. And I mean, I feel very honoured to work with all these amazing Latin and African musicians, a lot of people who are immigrants into this country. And a lot of those people are really the hardest hit by this crisis and are in a really, really, really difficult position, and they've been completely, many people have fallen through the cracks.
After 14 years, we went to the tribunal court. So there I won the process, and they gave me the stay to live in the UK, because the time they giving me a right to work in England, to live in England, and the COVID-19 comes and it stops all we were doing, like gigs. We've been playing. We played a lot of festivals in the past in England, but now there's nothing. And for people like me, for example, I'm not entitled to any help, any benefit. I can't live with the friend because I have no income to support or to contribute. So I have to struggle to survive.
I mean, what I think is one of the most ridiculous things at the beginning of the whole COVID thing was when I think it was Boris Johnson probably said, it's a great leveller, you know, and we're all the same. actually, what I think this whole crisis has done has actually made the divides in society even wider.
El día que me asaltaron, me opuse a los dos asaltantes. Me hirieron con una arma. Eso fue, me dijo mi mamá, que ella me decía que me mandaba para otro país. Sí, cuando estuve bajo el COVID, yo intenté buscar trabajo en los primeros meses, pero me decían que todo estaba cerrado. Entonces eso me desesperaba un poco. Yo a veces salía a la calle sin rumbo, a ver si me caía algún trabajo del cielo, como dicen. Porque también a veces pasaba días sin comer, estaba preocupado de cómo pagar la renta. Y era muy difícil esa situación porque yo había escuchado, o me habían dicho en las noticias, que el primer ministro dijo que nadie podía echar a nadie a la calle por la situación de que estaba pasando. Pero mis caseros me decían, eso no está aprobado, eso es mentira. Acomodaron todas las personas que tenía deuda con ellos, los movieron a una casa más barata, pero ya no éramos 2 personas o 3 personas en una habitación. Yo vivía con 3 personas más, éramos 4 personas en una habitación. En una habitación pequeña que pues, apenas caminaba. Entonces ellos aprovechaban cada situación o cada parte vulnerable de las personas que estaban ahí. Tú estás aquí, ya sé cómo está tu situación legal, ya sé cómo está tu situación. Entonces ellos atacan por eso. No, si no pagas, vas para la calle. O ellos lo que hacen, si tú te vas debiéndole algo, ellos miran qué tenés de valor en tu habitación y te lo quitan. Pero ellos quieren que uno esté al día pagándoles, pero ellos no te dicen, tenemos trabajo, vente. Y son trabajos que son a veces mal pagados. Porque a mí, yo tengo trabajo con ellos, le voy a hacer algo y me dice, te voy a descontar 10 libras porque el trabajo fue muy suave. Me están descontando con el trabajo porque a veces trabajaba más de 8 horas y solo me reconocían las 8 horas. No me pagaban las demás horas. Entonces sí hay gente que explota a los latinos aquí. Estoy como la mayoría de latinos, ilegal. Entonces eso fue también que afectaba un poco la parte del COVID. No podía acceder al University Credit. Eso era algo muy difícil para alguien que sale de un país, como siendo los países latinoamericanos, y llegar y no tener algo, por uno que se sienta orgulloso. Por esto luché, por esto me fui, por esto di sudor a otras personas. Necesito superarme en este país, no quiero estar así, volver a mi país y tener algo, y sentirme orgulloso de que sí vine a aprovechar este país de oportunidades y no me fui con la mano vacía.
My name is Yoshi Bunce. I've been a nurse for over 30 years. I love my job so much. The only thing I could compare perhaps to COVID is when I sort of became a student nurse in Peru when I was only 14, 15 years old. And at that time, I would never forget is starting my nursing in this hospital where it was the first case recorded of HIV in South America. Nobody heard of HIV before, and that was the first case recorded. And I was working in this this hospital where basically was nothing how to treat anybody. I think the COVID-19 has completely changed how much we take things for granted. I think people who doesn't think this is real. It is very real. It is unbelievably real. The amount of people that I've seen dying in our hands, and it's just phrases where I want to say goodbye, good night instead of goodbye, and I just want to make sure that she knows that I love him, or I would just want to see her face one last time, and all those phrases stayed with us so much. I think the most difficult has been not being able to put the oxygen on patients who were, where they were dying, because we didn't have the right equipment. We didn't have enough equipment. We had so many patients coming in, and we were looking for oxygen cylinders. I used to run around that hospital 2-3 o'clock in the morning, running from A&E to ICU, begging for a tank of oxygen, for a mouthpiece, and I knew where everything was, and trying to look in the most secluded areas, trying to find a tank of cylinder. You would never find it, and you would know in your heart that patient will not survive. And to me, I think that was the hardest part. Patients that will be on these couches for hours and hours and hours. You will start your shift about 7:15 in the morning, and that patient will still be there by the time you left the hospital, and that will about just before 8 o'clock in the evening. And you wouldn't really, I think to me the hardest thing is I wanted to ask in the morning what had happened to that patient, but that's one thing I was never strong enough to ask, because I knew it will affect me for not doing my 1,000%, and it was nothing else you could do. To me, I think I felt angry because we were doing so much work, and yet we didn't have the support or the help we needed. And I think for that, having experienced the loss throughout the whole time, experienced the loss of 2 really lovely close colleagues, a doctor and an amazing sort of porter, died because we didn't have the right equipment. He should have been always transferring patients with gloves, with apron, with face mask, with everything. He didn't have anything. I started sort of getting it from here, these disposable pillowcases, and I took them with me in A&E, and I said to the girls, just cut him in the middle, do a triangle, put it in your head. And everybody did that. And everybody was quite happy with that. I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified. And I would never forget that fright, and my heart every time. It's like when you go to a plane and the plane goes on a sort of on a turbulence, and your stomach feels really weird. It felt all the time like that. I got colleagues that even now they have problems with their stomach because of the stress, and I think everybody was affected one way or another. But it was just the fear. I think my sense of camaraderie and my sense of, it's just your sense of duty, your sense of your job. You do it. You don't think much of the consequences, you just work. But not because really we didn't feel appreciated. The Thursdays clapping stopped. Okay, until now you're appreciated, now you go back to work. I don't think I'll be able to do as many hours and as many shifts that I did at the beginning of the year, because now is the point where I know people are not taking it seriously. Is my life worth to risk it for people who don't think more other than themselves? But again, the COVID-19 has taught us so much. We were just nurses, and people said, no, you were not just nurses. But to me, it was just, I could not be without going to A&E every night. If I could have more extra days in my day, I will just do it. As a South American, I think it's just something that we are very good at masquerading things. We're very good at forgetting for a moment. I would start making this little heart shape in felt, and it says, "We are NHS." And I made hundreds and hundreds of them. Every time I had just even half an hour, I would just be cutting at the house. It was probably my therapy, my sort of trying to forget or something. And it became quite popular. Lots of people, lots of paramedics, ambulance people will come to A&E to ask for one heart shape to say, "We are NHS." And that was the most amazing thing. People coming from Charing Cross Hospital, St. Thomas Hospital, asking the little nurse that makes these heart shapes. And everybody had a picture with me. It's like, oh, it was the best thing ever, the best feeling ever.
Cuando yo he tenido conocimiento de esta fundación, me ha parecido algo magnífico, pues porque no abundan las fundaciones aquí, y más para la comunidad latina, que nos ayuda a integrarnos, a no sentirnos tan solos, de saber que tenemos alguien con quien podemos contar, desinteresadamente y de corazón. No es fácil, ¿sabes? Porque aquí la inmensa mayoría de latinos tienen a su mamá, o viven con sus hermanos, o su esposa, ¿sabes? Y es diferente. Tú estás en un país extraño, dime tú, una latina, donde la gente no se presta muchas veces ni para un saludo. Nosotros tenemos una cultura de saludar hasta el que no conocemos, ¿sabes? Estoy pasando por una depresión, pero por eso, por la soledad, por estar uno solo. Y yo vengo aquí y me siento fantástico porque tengo mis amigas que me he hecho aquí, mi gente conocida, y puedo intercambiar ideas con ellos, hablar, me entretengo un rato y ya está.
The idea was to help to tackle loneliness and isolation. Obviously, the COVID-19 was affecting everyone. In this small community, the Latin American community, many people work in hospitality, and we had to make decisions in terms of contacting them, basically adapting the way we were running the activities, and start developing an emergency plan, delivering food parcels and toiletries.
The whole world is round, and in order for us to help each other, we need to go hand in hand. And if everybody goes hand in hand, we can actually go around the world.
By the time I heard about Lava Group, I had suffered severe mental health. I decided to research to find how could I help myself rather than continuing taking medication.
With organizations such as LAWA, the strong emphasis that we have, or that they have on creating a community in order to support, or that they support each other, is what has kind of enabled or allowed them to be supported during the pandemic. We started to do IT classes, kind of calling women and trying to find different ways of helping them to download Zoom. For a lot of women who haven't had access to these devices before, it was a bit of a challenge. Because I think a lot of, and I think it's been talked about, a lot of mental health problems have stemmed from this. Particularly for women, elderly women, for example, who couldn't even leave the house. So having the ability to use Zoom, for example, was really quite incredible for them join activities and do things that weren't just lying in bed.
When the lockdown started, that was a completely new experience for me. So it was a very good experience to share and to be able to share through technology, which I think it was something new for everyone. So weeks went by, and that was a way. We even celebrated birthdays or whatever came through.
I think if I haven't been in the group, I don't think, mentally, I don't think I could have survived. Being able to call anyone, being able to share things, the pain. I didn't tell anyone about my illness, only Mercedes. It's like vitamin to live.
Yeah, so I think in general, just not having family for me in the UK has been quite difficult to deal with. I think that has kind of kept me going because I do really enjoy helping, but also maintaining that connection also really helps me.
What I learned about all this lockdown, the importance of fraternity, of being together, generosity, of being with people, your relatives, with those you love, thinking of taking advantage of every moment you have, because you realize there you were isolated, you couldn't see them, and you didn't know whether you were going to see them again, with all the people. So I think that was a great experience, and how important it is to keep in touch with your friends and appreciate life more, to make every day the best of every day, as if it was the last one.
Como é que tá a sua pelve aqui? E senta bastante na bola.
I started a Círculo Maternar in the UK, and the group came because I guess I feel sad and sorry when I start to hear the experience of like Brazilian women giving birth and in the UK, and the difference between our systems, basically related to natural birth, and how much Brazilian women can fear natural birth, and how they can compare our systems. Like Brazil, I think it still is one of the highest, where we have the highest rates of cesarean, and when you compare with all the countries in the world, I would say everything becomes pretty much medicalized over the years. Health insurance, corruption, government, everything becomes, in my opinion, it's a good business. When it comes to cesarean, you book the day, the time.
And if I just do this quick and dirty in 20 minutes, I can go back to my private practice, or I can go and do another C-section at a private hospital, and I'm going to be making much more money than just staying here and supporting you through your natural vaginal birth, because you don't know how long that's going to take.
We start the group just to share information, to help them to understand the system, and to help them to understand that nobody's trying to force them to have natural birth, and it's actually a natural and wonderful way to give birth.
Pelve que não seja essa.
Realista.
Calma, é verdade.
And during the COVID, when you go in labor and you have to go to the hospital, the first thing that happens there is you have to pass through triage, and not even your partner, your husband or your wife can be in the triage with you, and then they immediately become very vulnerable, and they can go blank. They're busy with their body, they are laboring, and then they have to go the triage with someone that they never saw in their life, and English is not their first language, so they immediately become even more vulnerable.
The whole thing seemed very daunting. Like just during COVID times, to do that by yourself, there is this whole interaction that you just lose.
Women are losing a lot in that sense of
human contact, because it's very important. Like, I mean, they needed the support, and I would feel really sorry for them, really bad for them, because that choice was taken away from them. And this will happen because you feel lonely, you're scared. If there is an emergency, you have 10 people in the room, they're all strangers to you, and they're all doing things to you. No hand to hold, you know, to look at you and say, it's okay, they're taking care of the situation. And I look at the woman and I say, breathe, let's breathe.
You do it with her,
and
right?
you do it with her, and that regulates, you know, it does help her to concentrate and to you know, yeah, to just be in that calm space again, you know. And so with a mask, you can't do that because she can't see half of your face, she can see your eyes. So I found that really, really challenging.
Respira 3 vezes. Solta devagarinho. And the good thing about it is just then we start to have more home birth, which actually Brazilian women would never consider. Like, it's just not a choice. It's not something that they will look into it.
Well, when I told my mum and my sister actually about deciding to go for a home birth, there was a lot of apprehension, to put it mildly. I wanted to be in my safe place with the people I feel protected around me, with people that I actually trust. And if it is someone you've been working with together and you have people you trust and they actually know you. So, I mean, it gives me a lot of comfort having my mom and my husband nearby.
Women who were having a home birth, it went up quite a bit. Like, I think 2 or 3% more women had a home birth because they were worried about going to the hospital. They changed completely. It was like they wanted a cesarean section and they changed to home birth. So it was a good thing, a positive thing, I guess, from COVID. And also having the birth partner, because in hospital it's still very restricted.
I think this has been like a very personal but educated decision.
Esse bebezinho tá ótimo, olha.